Yeah, they could. James, let's get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There he is, James.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. What's your name?
Tell him about
This is the only one.
Very good.
Cal,
Which one we got?
that's
That's right.
leasing, dude.
Yeah.
You coming to a public meeting, right?
Yeah, I'm getting that.
Well, you don't get mad at me. Go put that shirt on, come back here. Thank you. I'm sorry, one more. How you doing? Hey, what? You friendly with me?
You need to circulate.
Did
You got a pen?
Did he take
And I don't have.
I believe you did.
Here's a.
We'll get you going on this.
So what you gonna do after school? What you gonna do after high school? Project Light paid off for you, didn't it?
This regular meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen will come to order. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. We have two public hearings scheduled at the beginning here of this session. The first one is in regard to Ordinance 12-03, which rezones some properties at 1014 and 1020 Bradley Drive from restricted industrial to multiple residential and office. The owners being Bruce Head and John Thomas. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this matter? Hearing none, we move to the second. No, I believe that's got it. All right, we'll move now to the approval of the minutes. Any discussion on the minutes?
So moved.
We'll make a motion.
I second.
Okay, you made it and you seconded it? All right, any discussion now? Hearing none, if you favor the approval of the minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. All right, now I need to ask if you would be willing to amend this agenda to add two items to it under the, will be 312 and 313. One is having to do with some an item about the tennis courts, and the other is an emergency repair of a sewer. And then also it amends the United Way request by adding South Main Street from 5th to 7th. I'd be willing to make those, if anyone wants to move that we amend the agenda to add those items.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Do we have to do a roll call on that?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, vote your preference then when your name's called.
Snyder. Aye. Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Ellis.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right, we are now amended.
That's the amendment.
Where are you going?
Hand to them
This
there.
is the amendment.
Here comes the latest edition. All right, now under legislative ordinance 12-01, third and final reading. This is the ordinance that makes changes with animal control. We've discussed it for 2 sessions. This is the third and final. Is there a motion it be considered? Second?
Yeah.
Second.
All right, any discussion now? We wrap this up. Any comments at all? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Head.
Yes.
Carneal.
Aye.
Snyder. Aye. Mason.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Ellis.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right. 2.2 is also a final reading on ordinance 12-02. This adopts the 2006 International Energy Conservation Code. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And discussion now.
Just one,
Go ahead, Mr.
one
Shoemaker.
statement. Well, actually, a question. Have any of y'all read this?
All of the
You've
code?
read the code?
No, sir.
Not thoroughly.
Okay.
It's recommended on good authority, that's all I can tell you.
By Scott McDaniel, right? He didn't bring this?
Yes, yes. I asked him if we needed to, this has been an issue for about a year and a half in the state. The state has adopted the energy code, and we usually go ahead and adopt what they have approved. Actually, this is a little bit different situation. All the other codes, you go out and do inspections for. This doesn't have that type of administration. You'll see if you read that code, it doesn't have an appeals board, it doesn't have inspections, it doesn't have rates for inspection. The International Building Code Congress, when they passed the last set of codes, actually incorporated much of the energy code in the building codes, the plumbing code. I think maybe in the gas code there are different aspects where this pops up. And I think some cities, such as Clarksville, I mean, they just have the architect certify that it meets the energy code, the state requirements of the energy code.
I'm just going to record saying I'm not in favor of putting anything with the word international in our local codes. I think it opens the door to future encroachment by some organization with which we have no control. And that's why I voted no against it the last 2 times. If most of these have already been rolled into codes we already adhere to, I just personally don't see the reason of adding another layer, whether it's enforceable, inspectable or not, to the code of our language. So, just FYI.
We appreciate your remarks. Other comments?
Mine is, I think it's applicable. I think we should assimilate with an international coding system. So that's mine.
Well, the international code, if I could
Go ahead,
say a
Paul.
few things. There used to be the Southern Building Code
Right.
Congress. Every region of the country had their own building code. And those were all consolidated into one now, the International Building Code Congress. So unless you go to the trouble of preparing your own building codes, which most people don't, you adopt whatever codes you feel are applicable to your situation. So being a full-service city,
That's my
these are
reason.
the normal codes that you adopt.
Anything further? Ms. Connie, let's call the roll.
Ellis.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
No.
Snyder. Carneal.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Pass 6 to 1.
Okay, now we move to 2.3. We had the public hearing on this on second reading. This rezones 2 different lots on Bradley Drive and changes that zoning from the old category from restricted industrial to multiple residential and office. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on this?
What does that allow? What are we allowing there?
Paul, do you want to explain what we're allowing with that change?
Well, Jenny, you want to just explain what it is? It's just two lots.
Gina Head, our city planner, will answer the question.
It's rezoning 2 lots from restrictive industrial to MRO. And the reason they've asked to do that is, first of all, can't even think of the gentleman's name right now, but they wanted to buy this lot out there that Mr. Thomas owns for a business like, they plan on doing a jump area where you can go in there and have children's, and the restrictive RI would not allow that. So some of the other lots through there, and Mr. Head knows this, most of what he sold out there and is used is zoned MRO. The restrictive industrial has not sold. And so that's why, and we had to tie it in somewhere, so his lot next to that had to be rezoned as well.
Thank you.
Can I make a
Other
comment?
questions?
Yeah, comment also, the bedding facility.
Batting
is
cages,
part of-
just
is
different
part of-
things that for children and youth and everything like that is what they plan on doing out there.
Thank you, Gina. Are there other comments or questions about this issue? not, we'll call the roll.
Carneal.
Aye.
Head.
Abstain.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Snyder. Ellis.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Passed 6-0, 1 abstain.
Okay, we move now to item 2.4. This is a final reading. Also, this ordinance amends the schedule of fees and charges for play at the Legacy Golf Course, and it sets a new standard of fees. It sets a schedule of fees. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? We spent a lengthy time discussing issues regarding the golf course at a special meeting a couple of weeks ago and had a very good session, and I think ironed out a few things that needed working on. And but this is a routine matter that is before us right now. Any discussion on this matter? All right, please call the roll.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Snyder. Carneal.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Ellis.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Passed 7-0.
All right, 2.5 is in regard to ordinance 12-05, and this is a first reading, and our charter requires that this proposed change be read in its entirety. Ms. Connie?
Ordinance 12-05, an ordinance rezoning property owned by Mac Baggett located at 2113 South Main Street from R7 residential to R20 low-density residential. Whereas Mac Baggett has requested that .64 acres of property he owns at 2113 South Main Street be rezoned from R7 residential to R20 low-density residential. And whereas the property is more fully described in Exhibit A attached. And whereas the Springfield Regional Planning Commission has reviewed this request and has recommended that the property be rezoned from R7 residential to R20 low-density residential. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. Section 1, the .64 acre tract owned by Mac Baggett at 2113 South Main Street, as more fully described in Exhibit A attached, is hereby rezoned from R7 residential to R20 low-density residential. Section 2, all ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
All right, you've heard the reading of this proposed ordinance. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second?
Second.
All right, now any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Hold on, go ahead.
I'm good.
I just wonder what, change it to R20, what's the,
What that will allow?
what would it allow?
Ms. Gina?
Part of the property is already zoned the R20, which is the front side.
Yeah,
The
the rest
back-
of them, yeah.
The back side is R20, the front
Yeah.
side is R7. And the R7 is higher density, and it's still just residential. It just means that the lots have to be bigger in the R20, the 20,000 square feet, and we wanted to keep from 21st, as you go out South Main from 21st west, then most of those houses and lots out there are bigger lots and everything than the smaller R7, and we didn't want to have any more R7 right there starting, just keep it R20. And that's the reason for it.
Well, he has to keep that up, like do the rest of the residential, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, it's what he's planning on doing. He's already subdivided it,
Yeah.
that house off, and he plans on selling it. And it's just like any other residential zone, residential dwelling.
Other questions?
Yes, sir. As he came to the board with this proposal, and as we studied, he's planning on keeping it up. Plus, the neighbors go along with it. No one's opposing his.
Okay. All right.
I didn't have any opposition, but the neighbor, they the one approached me about asking that, that's why I was asking.
That's
about.
good, and you can assure them of what's been explained here. Anything further on this matter before we vote? Please call the roll.
Mason.
Aye.
Ellis. Shoemaker.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Snyder.
Aye.
Passed 7-0.
Okay, 2.6 is Resolution 12-10. This declares certain property as surplus and authorizes the disposal of such property. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Now, any discussion on this matter? Please call the roll, Connie.
Snyder.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Ellis.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
Okay. Now we move to the administrative portion of the agenda. It's our pleasure first under this item, 3.1, to hear from Mr. Frank Callis, who's going to give us an update on the progress with Electrolux's most recent expansion. Frankie, we welcome you. If you'll go to the podium, please.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, members of the board, I wanted to give you guys an update and a brief update on Electrolux business and expansion project that's been going on, and something that, of course, I was project manager and led that project, and bragging on myself now, but it has gone very well, and I wanted to come and explain to you guys and tell you kind of how you helped and how Electrolux, municipality and industry can work together and work together very well for a successful project. I'll start out with a little bit of Electrolux business update. There are always rumors about Electrolux going around town, and so I thought you guys might be interested. Electrolux Cooking had one of the strongest first quarters we've had in quite a few years. We put back on overtime. We worked this past Saturday overtime. The next 2 Saturdays are scheduled for overtime. So we're building ranges and they're selling, and we're all happy. And that's good for Springfield and good for Electrolux. We have currently, when we came and made this proposal about the building expansion, we told you guys we were going to hire 71 engineers. Well, we hadn't quite done that. We've hired 70 to date, and we have plans to hire more. We have exceeded our expectations, and it looks like we're probably going to hire another 15 to 20 additional engineers. So that's great news for Springfield and for Electrolux. We're hiring Springfield native. We've hired some graduates, the University of Tennessee, that Springfield natives that graduated back in December. We hired those as mechanical engineers. We've also, in addition to these 70 new engineering positions, mechanical, electrical, structural type engineers, we've hired so far 10 what we call engineering techs, which is a little lesser degree of engineer. And we just hired one, Jamaica Townsend, here in Springfield, local. She'd be Lloyd, I call him Lloyd Jr., Lloyd Townsend Jr. He's passed away, but it'd be his granddaughter-in-law, Jimmy and Vanessa's daughter-in-law. And a lot of good success with local. Out of these 10 techs, half of them have been Springfield residents or local people, in addition to what was working into the factory, you know. So to me, that's just great news. I mean, it's exciting to be part of Electrolux and, of course, part of Springfield and Robertson County. One more thing that we're doing here, we're planning 2 more additions to the facility. And I know Mr. Ellis is going to get your attention. Where are we going to put these buildings? But seriously, we're planning 2 expansions, one on the south side, about 12,000 more square feet for warehouse space, and another about 13,000 square feet for a new press shop to add additional presses, cooktop presses to make. So that's going to, the one in May, you'll probably, I mean, the first expansion, you'll probably start seeing drawings in May. The 13,000 square footage will be coming in the fall. And we do have money appropriated already to do that. So Electrolux is investing money in Springfield and Robertson County, and that's just great to me. That means maybe I get to stay employed. So now, as far as the current building project update, you know, I've been asked questions as project manager of this project. How did it work with the city? I've heard the city is a problem, a pain, aggravation, anti-business, anti-building. You know, those kind of comments. We all hear that. Well, I'm here to tell you it was great. Not to say that we didn't have some issues, you know, Mr. Nutty, you and I have had a few emails and late night conversations and discussions, and Mr. Brewer slapped my hand one time because I got the cart before the horse, and we had to back up and punt. But some of that was ignorance on my part, and I was so anxious to get rolling and get going that we got a little bit ahead and had to stop and back up. But we worked it out and worked it out real quickly. That's what made this such a success, in my opinion. There are other things that my management style to this project, or successful project, was communication. And I'm saying this, maybe you guys can relate to other businesses in the future that, you know, that seem to have issues with the city. They would communicate, or at least my experience was communicating to the city. We came in up front, had a meeting, requested a meeting. Mr. Nutting put together the managers of all the department heads. We sat in this room, we laid out the scope of work that Electrolux wanted to do, the goal that we had, the timeline, and most everybody looked at me like I was crazy when I said the timeline, that, you know, we were going to have a 3-story building built, you know, and occupied in February, and this past February, and we did it. We did it. But I think communication, we sat down, we had good communication, we explained the scope. I went over something that's the core values of Electrolux. And the core values of Electrolux is kind of the way we think and the way we do things in Electrolux, and it's somewhat ingrained and instilled in the employees, and it's a good thing. But one, we have passion for innovation. Passion for innovation is why we're having this growth. We're exceeding in the market, we're working overtime, we're expanding, because we're trying to stay ahead of our competition. We have customer obsession, and customer obsession, there again, one of our big customers is Sears and Kenmore and Lowe's and others. And we are obsessed with fulfilling their requirements and their needs. That was something that the city came back to us. We considered ourselves somewhat the customer of the city, and the city had this same obsession to help Electrolux through this project. Not to roll over and say you can do whatever you want, but to help expedite any issue that we brought before the city. And the last thing that of Electrolux core values is drive for results. And that's where I was, in the driver's seat, driving for results, pushing department heads with the city to get me an answer back, and you guys responded, and you worked very well with us. There were other things that we found out early on after part of my ignorance in getting the cart before the horse and Mr. Brewer getting me back in line, and some of those things was the codes and learning the codes and being up to code. So we got, what we did is encourage the codes guys to come on site and welcomed them. Anybody that wanted to visit at any time from the codes department was welcome. And they came on site. I know Chief Schott was there. Mike Farmer came. He was almost there daily there for a while. And what that did was, if we had any issues, he would identify them ahead of time, and the contractor would correct it before it ever got finished. And then it was a problem, and then you get this headbutting. You know, it was an issue that was brought up, and we corrected it immediately on the spot. So when it came time for final inspection, everything was in line and ready to go. We really appreciate that working relationship that we had with the inspectors. Scott McDaniel was on site, others. We also appreciate greatly what the Springfield Electric Department did for us during our Thanksgiving shutdown when we had to do underground work. And Springfield Electric supported us. Electrolux bought some equipment for Springfield Electric, and it kind of all worked out. You know, it wasn't one-sided. It was give and take from both sides. And that was very encouraging. But another example of how things worked out is we invited, like with Springfield Electric, Nikki Pinson sat in multiple meetings that we had with our electrical engineers and our design engineers up front. And said these are our expectations from the city standpoint. So the electrical engineer heard that up front, and it worked out. That way there weren't these issues down the road. The other departments, the water department, the public works department, when we needed to close the road to set the two heating and air units on the roof, they were right there to help us. Furnish the signs, the gas department, the water, because see, we kept this plant running the whole time that we did this expansion. We had to tie in electrical, we had to tie in gas, water, those type things, and build over 8,000 ranges a day. So that took a lot of coordination and a lot of work. I guess I've got Mr. Nutty and all of it.
He got used to that.
I can shut you up there.
You go right ahead.
Anyway, those types, we had to keep that plant running, the facility going, and had to do this work and get it tied in, and the cooperation was just unbelievable with all the departments in the city. And the last thing, just to kind of give you guys a little bit of scope of work, we had 19 subcontractors on this job, had 43 workers at one time working on the site in a 28,000 square foot or 25,000 square foot area, 3-story building. So it took a lot of coordination, a lot of work, and we didn't have any fights and didn't have any injuries, and it worked out well. It took us 5 weeks to get the site work. We basically started the site work in September. By the end of October, 1st of November, we had the site work complete. We hung the first piece of steel, and 116 days after we put up the first piece of steel, we had temporary occupancy for the building, all 3 floors, 116 days. So that was, to me, that was remarkable and amazing, and we did do it. And that shows the spirit of Springfield and Robertson County and Electrolux, and we just wanted to tell you guys we appreciate the cooperation and the work, and I think from Electrolux standpoint, we held up our end of the bargain, and we would like to invite you guys to come to our new facility sometime. Give me a little bit of notice, and Mr. Nutty's had a tour, but the rest of you are welcome, and see what we're doing in Springfield.
Well, Frankie, we appreciate those, the summary and the kind remarks that you've made. It's been our intention for a long time never to be an impediment to anybody who's trying to expand and to try to grow their business in Springfield and Robertson County. And we've heard from a number of people lately, from the retail area to a lot of other areas, commercial and then industrial, of the cooperation that they're getting from the city. So if we had any improvements that we needed to make, and sometimes we do need to be a little bit more customer oriented, I think it's shown in this that we have worked to do exactly that. And we appreciate the long relationship that we have with Electrolux and all of its predecessor companies. And we don't take lightly the fact that there are 2,800 to 3,000 people working at that facility, and that it is the second largest manufacturer in all of Middle Tennessee, Nissan being the larger. And that's tremendous to our local economy, and we look forward to many more years of cooperation and expansion and improvement. So call on us again when you want to expand again. Okay. Thank you so much.
I apologize to Mr. Callis and everybody. I've got allergies and having a fit.
He just thought you were getting upset with what he was saying, Paul.
No, I really appreciate what he said. Thank you, Frank.
I'm glad you're all right, too. All right, we have our monthly adjustment of retail electric rates, which unfortunately the Tennessee Valley Authority thinks they need to bring around. So is there a motion this be considered?
So moved.
Second. All right, and I think it is going up, what did I read, about
1.5.
1.5, round up being about $3. Yeah, 1.5% is the increase. Any discussion? Motion first. Got it. We got a motion. All right, let's call the roll.
Ellis.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Shoemaker. Snyder.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Passed 7-0.
All right, now the gas rate increase, the monthly adjustment.
So moved.
Okay, and what was that, Mr. Hall? Went down 1%. All right. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second? Any discussion now? Please call the roll.
Carneal.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Shoemaker. Mason.
Aye.
Snyder. Ellis.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Passed 7-0.
All right, and now we have discussion again on an issue where Hale and Cotton has contacted us about donating an unused building that is adjacent, a building that they own that's adjacent to the Springfield Police Department. We have had a brief discussion about this earlier. Mr. Nutting, do you want to, are you able to make a few comments about that?
Well, Mayor, let me just say that Mr. Balthrop was asked to get some costs related to the acquisition of this property, the donation, and Jim has prepared a memo for you to look at, and I'll have Jim just explain the memo.
Mr. City Attorney?
I don't have a microphone over here. I'm sure everybody can hear me okay.
Yes, sir. Ms. Snyder's mic will help for the benefit of the...
All right, go over there. As you'll recall, in the offer that was made by Hale and Cotton, they had several stipulations they wanted the city to take care of in order to make this donation. So I have gone down and, as far as acquiring the title itself, I've gone down and listed the things that would be necessary. The environmental assessment may or may not be necessary, I don't know, but I have called an engineer here and gotten a figure, and the appraisal, I called an appraiser to get a figure. The others I'm pretty comfortable with because I know what the legal fees and so forth would be, and the taxes. I don't believe, well, I know the city can't waive county taxes, and I really don't think the city can lawfully waive city taxes on something like this. The city would wind up paying itself back on the taxes, but it would be roughly half the year. So those calculations come to $6,450, which is a rough estimate. Now, I did suggest that as far as the fees, professional fees, environmental assessment, appraisals, and legal fees, that I would suggest that the city either be allowed to select the ones doing that, or put a cap on it if Hale and Cotton wants to select the ones doing that. Of course, I understand why they want an appraisal, and they may want to pick their appraiser, but I would suggest the city may want to put a cap on the professional fees, or the city pick the ones doing that.
All right. You have questions of Mr. Balthrop while he's at the podium?
Is there such thing as having asbestos in that building? You seem to have a problem with everything else.
No, I think we're okay. I think that's, building was built in 1925. It's a very solid structure, but very old structure, and pretty much brick and wood, concrete.
Of course, the advantage, I mean, the thing that we would be acquiring this building for is it is adjacent to our police department. Our police department's been at the location where it is now for 45 years plus, and the fact that that's property that at some point we may need for expansion, and as the city grows, we're going to have to continue to grow our police department. So I think that's what we're looking at primarily with this. So, Jim, thank you.
Okay.
You got a question?
Yes, sir.
You do have a customer here.
Environmental assessment, and I know basically, we just discussed the asbestos, if there were any, was any, I don't think there is. But should we do the environmental assessment before we accept it? Or do we accept it and then take whatever's there?
Their offer was not phrased that way, but I don't know if they'd be willing, and I haven't talked with anybody at Helen Cotton. They might be willing to let us do an environmental assessment and go from there.
I don't know why we're gonna do one, after we
get-
accept it. I mean, we know what we, I don't know. That was just something that I had seen. You talk about county taxes and city taxes. County taxes have just been paid. Did they pay them?
This is for 2012 taxes. They wanted the city to be responsible. Actually, they wanted the city to waive county and city taxes for the period of time that Hale and Cotton owns the building, which would be from January 1 through June 30 of 2012 of this year.
So, well, of course, we can't waive taxes, I don't think.
I don't think we can.
No. But, so we'll be paying the county taxes
For half the year.
for half of this present
That assumes it
2012.
closes about June the 30th.
County taxes being $950 for that portion of the year, is that
Right,
what you're
they're-
saying, $950?
Right,
and the
they
city
were a
tax
little
is
over
$300.
$1,800 for the full year. The city was a little over $600 for the full year.
All right.
I'd like to make one comment, please.
ahead.
I think that Mr. Bothrop is very right about capping the appraisal, because we're seeing today anywhere from the $2,750 that you have on this list up to $5,000. So I think that if we're going to do this, we have to cap it.
All right, Jim, do you have a recommendation as how to proceed from this? I mean, this is something we want to keep, there is interest certainly in this, but we want to be sure we proceed in the right manner. And we've got, they are asking that this be done before June 30th, I think, so we need to.
I don't know how long it would take to do an environmental assessment. I think that's a very valid point that we may want that.
Usually approximately 4
before we
weeks.
accept it, or before we take the property. Assuming that can be done relatively quickly, at the city's expense, I would take it. And then just go on and accept the property, but either the city choose the appraiser and the attorney, or or put a cap on it, either way.
Okay, well, we're here in the middle of April, and as we've said, if we follow the guidelines that were suggested, we've got just a little over two and a half months before June 30th. We will be meeting, of course, regularly with not only the regular May and June meetings, but we'll have some budget sessions in there too that we could, if we had to have an extra meeting to do some of this. But it looks like to expedite the matter, the most appropriate thing tonight would be to approve seeking an environmental assessment, or approving that. Would you think?
It makes sense to me. If there's something bad there, we may not want it.
Okay.
Why could we go ahead and come to an agreement subject to a clean environmental? And
That's fine.
also on the appraisal, that the fee would have to be approved.
Want to come to, all right, want to state what you're thinking there again, Mr. Head?
Okay. That we accept the offer of Helen Cotton, and that it would be subject to a clean environmental assessment of the property, and that if they choose the appraiser, but we would have to approve the appraiser's fee in advance.
Okay. And do you want to, at the same time with that, we've got to have that stipulation. We cannot agree to that stipulation about waiving taxes, so that needs to be stated up front.
But we would need to pay those taxes. Is that the way we would do that?
I guess so.
That's the way I've done the estimate.
Yeah. I mean, that's not a deal breaker, I wouldn't think, on $950 for the county taxes and $300 that we would owe ourselves. So, I mean, if you were talking about costing us $950 there. All right. We're going to say that we have what you've said now in the form of a motion.
Yes.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Mr. Borton, to your knowledge, what was stored there?
I don't know.
Tobacco?
Tobacco. So the only thing we're probably concerned about is the chemicals that was,
I think there was tobacco and equipment. I think that was
That's
basically.
right.
sucker plucker and all that stuff.
Other questions?
Do we have any idea of what an adjacent parcel of that size in that area might be worth? Because I understand we're buying it for the land, not really for the building for future use.
They had the tax appraisal figure, or their last appraisal, one in the letter last month, and I've forgotten what it.
I think $166,000, something like that.
160 sounds right, 160,000.
This building runs from Hill Street to Willow, is that correct?
And it was slightly less
Along-
than half an acre, I believe,
Okay.
.44 or something like that.
Along really what's an alley that is known as Ninth Avenue. Okay. All right, you've heard the motion and the second. Are there any other comments before we move forward? Please call the roll if you're in favor of and if you're in favor of Mr. Head's motion, vote aye. If you oppose, vote no.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Carneal,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Ellis,
No.
Mason.
Aye.
Passed 6-1.
Thank you, Mr. Balfour. 3.5 is to discuss and possibly take action on a request for financial support for the annual Taste of Country event sponsored by the Robertson County Chamber of Commerce. You have a memo there before you. Is there a motion that this be taken under consideration?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion now. The Chamber is requesting an appropriation of $5,000 as a donation to try to continue this event, which began last year with a great deal of success, hoping to get it to be a self-sustaining event that is sponsored by some business or other good people who would like to step forward and do so, other than the city of Springfield. Are there questions about the matter?
Well, since we supported it last year and it was a great success, even though it's a tight budget, I still would second a motion to assist them again, or offer a motion to assist them again.
All right, you'd be offering the motion. I believe that. Is there a second to your?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Mr. Shoemaker?
Do we have any estimates on what economic impact was last year?
I don't have actual numbers, Shane, no. I mean, I know that the depot, I know that Burdett's, Tricia's had their largest days they've ever had in history of being open. Those are pretty significant impact, but as far as dollar figures, no, I don't know. We had about 8,000 people in the city
That's
that
what I
day.
was thinking.
About 8,000. The Master Gardeners sold more tickets than they've ever sold for their garden tour. The yard sale did better than it's ever done before. It was a success all around.
And I know it's a monumental undertaking. Anytime you hear the figures about, when an event comes to a city, it generates X amount of revenue and blah, blah, blah.
And I think until we have a few years of real numbers in that area to look at sales tax and see what happened in those months. And Paul and I have had this discussion. They're kind of, sales tax are reported, not necessarily month to month. And how do you break that up? I don't know, except to talk to business owners to see how they did. We had 95 vendors last year, and all 95 have shown interest in coming back and said that it was a very organized event, a very successful event for them, and obviously the restaurants in the area couldn't get in that day, so it's good.
We're hearing from Jordan Osborne with the Chamber of Commerce, and Jordan, we appreciate all the hard work that you all did last year and
Thank you, Mayor.
working on this year.
Thank you.
So advertise it good like you did last year, okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, any other comments on this matter before we vote? If you would favor this, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote no. All right.
Snyder,
Aye.
Carneal, Hubbard,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Ellis, Mason.
Aye.
Passed 7-0.
All right, 3.6, we've just got all kinds of parades coming up. Just take your pick.
Miss,
And you want to break these down and vote on them?
I want to
No.
vote
No,
total
please not.
consent.
No. As a group?
As a group
Okay.
consent.
We have, looks like 7 different requests, and so, Mr. Duddy?
Well, thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to remind everybody that United Way did amend their application. They wanted to close South Main between 5th and 7th. That wasn't on the original. I think Chief Thompson has approved that. You had another look at that.
All right, we appreciate all of the activities that various groups are sponsoring that reflected on this request. Is there a motion now that we consider this as a group?
So moved.
Okay. All right, any questions or comments before we vote? Please call the roll.
Head,
Yes.
Carnell,
Aye.
Snyder, Mason, Hubbard, Ellis, Shoemaker. Pass 7-0.
You don't need to leave Springfield for entertainment the next few weeks. Just stay here. We've got a lot going on. Okay, 3.7. We got that. Wait a minute, we got a missing number or something here, have we? Okay, here we go. Yes, Public Works, 3.7. Public Works is asking for the approval of a change order for the asphalt pavement sealing and repair at the Legacy parking lot and our downtown parking between 7th Avenue and Main Street. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. Any discussion on that now?
Mayor,
Go ahead, Paul.
Mayor, we decided that it didn't require a full layer of asphalt, that a sealant would do in both of these cases.
The Legacy, you decided you wasn't gonna pave it, but you had to use the money.
I think that's what I said. We're not going to be paving with asphalt, we're going to be sealing everything.
This is what the only thing we could do.
If we took the money away, right? Okay.
Setting up a line.
I guess if we took the money away and this is what's left, we ought to approve the situation we've gotten into. All right.
You can't figure out how to do it.
We have a motion, I believe now, and a second to deal with this matter. Vote your preferences, your name. Just call them.
Ellis. Hubbard.
Aye.
Shoemaker. Snyder. Carnell. Mason. Head.
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
All right, we move now to 3.8. Discuss and possibly take action on the purchase of air cards that are required for transmitting and receiving data for the mobile data terminals that are in police vehicles. You have a memo there. Is there a motion for the consideration?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Are there questions about this matter?
Is this being paid out of the police budget?
Drug fund.
Drug fund, okay.
Drug fund?
Are there any questions on the issue?
That's the drug fund's paying for the air cards also?
Yeah, the air cards are simply a component of the MDTs. You've got computers, you've got a lot of little pieces of equipment that are involved with this.
And what about funding in future years?
Well, you'll have to pay for the air cards annually, right, Chief?
Yes, on a monthly basis. So after the first year, the city will have to pick up the tab on the ongoing use of air cards.
When we talked about this several months ago, there was a large dollar number, $26,000. Well, that includes the annual maintenance. It was for everything related to the MDTs, and it includes the air cards and other things that have an annual maintenance. So if you roll those, I think there are 5 different maintenance components to the MDTs. Collectively, they'll be $26,000 a year after the first year. So that'll be something we'll have to budget every year in the police department budget.
And do we have these now, or expect, is it in process?
This is all in process. I don't have a microphone, but I imagine.
Chief Thompson, come to the microphone, please, sir.
Make a little stroll over there, Chief.
I'm pretty loud. We are in the process of putting the MDT system together. We've ordered and received, I think, some 31 microcomputers, laptop computers we'll be using. We've ordered the air cards. We expect to, with your approval tonight, we expect to go and pay for those. We've already received them because Verizon was glad to get them to us as quickly as they could. None of this is being used right now. As far all the components have to come together. We've got the mounting brackets for the consoles that have to come together. The software has to be installed, and we have to troubleshoot all of this to connect to the servers. So we are at probably, out of maybe a 10-step process, we're about step 3 or 4 right now, as far as getting this where it's operational and up and running.
When you say about after July 1st is what we're really anticipating, having everything up and fully operational?
Yes. By the time we get all these components together, troubleshoot the software, get all the bugs out and make everything work, we're probably talking after July 1st.
Other questions of Chief Thompson? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions now, comments before we vote? Please call the roll.
Carnell.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Snyder. Ellis. Hubbard.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
Okay. 3.9, discuss and possibly take action on the City of Springfield's share of dispatching costs for the E911 Consolidated Communications Center. Mr. City Manager, you want to address this issue before we...
All right. Well, thank you, Mayor. This has been something that's been pending for a while. First, the good news is that everything is working well at the Communications Center. We've got central management. All the employees work for the City of Springfield. We're a little disappointed, I think, the City of Springfield and White House, in the fact that we believe that we have been put in a position where we're subsidizing Robertson County, all the small cities in Robertson County, and all the volunteer fire departments in Robertson County. When we opened the Communications Center in August of 2010, the original plan was for the City of Springfield, the two partners in this, to bring over all their dispatchers, and we brought over 9 full-time and 2 part-time dispatchers, all the dispatchers we had. And the county, instead of bringing over their full 17, brought an equal number. Now, if everybody brought over their dispatchers, ultimately we'd figure out what the optimum number of dispatchers was going to be, and we weren't going to need that many because you'd have economies of scale. But unfortunately, since this has gone on, the city has been using about 25% of the calls. White House came on in August of last year, and they're using their use is about 13% of the calls. And so that's about 62% that's being supported, that is responsible for the county and all the cities and all the volunteer fire departments. So we thought at some point it would be best to just have a general budget for communications, and then everybody pay their fair share based on the number of calls for their jurisdiction. And unfortunately, the county has not moved in any direction to do that. It was my understanding the sheriff kept some dispatchers back to serve warrants, which is not an added service to us. He's always been serving warrants for us. So I think there's some point where I really think we need to express our displeasure and have the expectation, especially in this new budget coming up. And I think in this budget that they owe us some money, that they should, that our intent here was not to subsidize and save them money. It was to save us all money and everybody paying their fair share of this project. Other than that, everything's going really well at the Communications Center. And we don't have any problems as far as dispatching, and I think the chiefs and the people on the users board have done a good job working through issues. It's just now a matter of, I think everybody needs to pay their fair share.
All right, so you're bringing this just as a matter of reporting to us. Are there any questions of Mr. Nutting on this issue?
Well,
Who wants to speak first? Mr. Hubbard?
we came into this agreement supposedly everybody was willing to do their fair share and really push for this. So I'm not for the sheriff department leaning on us. So I think we need to send a strong message to honor his agreement.
Other comments?
Is there an agreement that outlines this?
Well, we didn't try to get a terribly detailed agreement. It was the understanding. The agreement just says basically that we provide the dispatchers, both the city and the county in the beginning. Then White House has come aboard. And there was, I think there was, why it wasn't terribly specific is because we figured we'd probably be bringing over too many if we brought over all of them. And just, instead of letting this thing get worked out, the county just held a large portion of theirs back. So now the result is that, you know, they're paying much less than they should be paying.
All right. How do we move this forward?
Well, I think that, you know, I think they need to be aware of the fact that, you know, one of the things we could do is go to the E911 board and stipulate that we're going to go back to separate entities, that we'll go and have our consoles, and White House will
within
have their,
that center.
within that center, and White House will have their consoles, and then Robertson County Sheriff's Department can answer all their calls with the 11 dispatchers that they had 17 using before, and we'll handle it that way. Or another way, if there's no money available there, is and it really isn't a fair stay. I'm just going to stay this as just an option. I would hope that this is something we really wouldn't do. But the only other thing we partner with them on is the library. Well, you're not paying us. Well, we're not paying for the library starting next month. And, you know, do what you're going to do. And, well, the library won't be able to operate. And then at that point, then their savings, they can pay us.
Well, there are certainly issues here that need to be resolved, but I don't think we need to be doing it that abruptly. I think we need to be having to sit down with them and let's show the percentage of calls that are being received and the percentage that's being paid by the respective entities and show the imbalance that's there, and rather than holding another party hostage to the situation. I agree this does not seem fair. But now, how you want to move from here? You want a letter to? Are we dealing with the 911 board? Or are we dealing with the county on this? Are we addressing County Mayor Bradley? Or are we addressing the E911 board?
No, it's the county. It's not the E911 board. My suggestion is that possibly we offer a resolution to the county commission.
Okay. Do you have something in mind tonight, or you want to bring this back to?
I wanted to get your input on it.
Okay,
Mr. Ellis has a resolution.
I just had something that, in order to move this along, it looks like for us to make any kind of decision, we may not can tonight, but we need to notify the appropriate agencies that we're going to pay the percentage of our costs, whatever that is. If it's 25% or if it's 35%, we'll pay that. And then they can, you know, and just notify whoever that is that that's what we're going to do. And are you talking about doing this in this present budget or next year?
Well, actually, I think they owe us money this year and definitely next year.
This is the time to address it based on with the budget coming up, but that's not to say that you can't ask for correction on the imbalance that has occurred during this year.
But would they have to pay us, or would they have to pay a larger percentage the rest of this year?
They have to pay us. I mean, we're managing, all the personnel work for us, and we're essentially managing the operation, right, Chief?
All right, do you want to have
I'll make that in the form of a motion, sir.
well, are you you want a motion tonight that this be written, or do you?
Ask Mr. Nutting.
Or do you want us to say this is something we want to do and have it ready for the next meeting to present to them? They're not going to approve of, they're not working on, seriously on the budget at this point, I don't
Mr.
think.
Mayor, if I may interject, we need to send a strong message and give Mr. Nutting guidance to send a strong message tonight. Enough's enough.
I move that we
Go ahead, Mr. Ellis.
do what I said.
You remember what you said?
I second Mr. Ellis. In the form of,
That we send them, but whatever we were talking.
A resolution?
We send a message that we will pay the percentage
that we're
that
responsible.
we are responsible for, County pays their percentage and White House pays theirs.
And see, you have all of these others, Mr. Ellis, involved too. You have the volunteer fire departments, and then you have the other cities that use those who have police departments. I guess that would be Greenbrier, Ridgetop, Cross Plains, Coopertown, and maybe I could have left one off there. So let's word it where the respective entities pay their own costs, whatever those entities are. Cities, fire department.
We can't make them do that, but we have an agreement with the county. The county has agreed, I think, to answer those calls, haven't they?
The county answers,
All right, well, then
county
go back
answers
to
all
your
those
wording.
calls.
All right, let's state it again. State the proposal again, and then we'll go from there.
We're asking the county or the 911 board, whoever it is, that we're saying that we want to pay our portion of the 911 calls, the portion that we are using, and the county pay theirs, and White House pay to be responsible for theirs.
Okay.
Aren't they the three entities that we have?
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Sir?
And I'm sure that White House would be very happy to do the same thing.
Well, I'm sure they'll, I'm sure they'll join us. I don't think that will be debatable. All right, anything you want to add to that? Everybody understand that? Duly seconded?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's vote.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Snyder. Carneal.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Ellis.
Aye.
Mason. Passed 7-0.
All right, thank you. Now, 3.10 is to discuss and take action on the proposed draft of the new policy on heavy trash collection. Memo has been prepared that you've seen. Is there a motion this be considered?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. This would take effect in July. Mr. Nutting, do you want to briefly just give highlights of that for our audience, both here and the ones that will be watching on television?
Have you got a copy of this? Okay. I just, basically what we need to do is start advising everybody that after June 29th, we will no longer have bulky waste pickup on a monthly basis. It'll be in April and October of every year. And most of the conditions of service for curbside collection are actually in the existing ordinance. We may have made a few changes in there, but nothing, yeah. So basically, I think just talking this through, one of the stipulations that we have in our ordinance that I kept in here was residents are limited to 1 truckload of waste per month.
What does that mean in light that we're not going to do this for 2 months a year? That's what the one thing I had to add, that I didn't understand about this. Does that mean what you bring to, if you brought it to this?
Believe it or not, some of them have more than
Okay, okay.
that would be one load.
Okay, so you're just saying for the months that we render that service, which is, and under this proposal, is April and October, you're limited to 1 load. Okay. All right.
Because that'll hold us back. So we wanted to kind of run that by you. Seeing that we're trying to get the whole city in a month, you don't want to go back 3 or 4 truckloads for people that are decided they're going to, clear everything out. And other than that,
And we're making available the drop-off point at Public Works where people can take items there.
and we're advising them that they can go to the Robertson County transfer stations.
And we still do the brush pickup as now.
Every month. That will not change, or leaf collection in the fall.
All right, we have a motion on the floor.
Yes, sir.
Have a second?
Yes, sir.
All right, any discussion now?
Yes, sir. Well, this will run on our cable
Well,
to
yeah,
sort of
we're-
educate them to what we're trying to do.
There'll be mail outs for your utility bills and all kinds.
And public, you know, a little more public besides the bill, because, you know, if not, you know, excuses of I don't know, you know, and then we'll have and I'm not trying to be negative, okay, but we just don't want to filter Ward 1.
Well, we'll have to run newspaper ads, we'll have to have it on Channel 3, we'll probably have to have an insert mailer with the utility bill.
We'll have to.
So, and we'll probably have to have it translated in Spanish as well.
Yeah.
So we're planning to do all those.
The Times has already done a feature article on it, so they'll help us too, I'm sure. So, all right, any further discussion?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Ellis.
What are we going to do, and how are we going to patrol this, if this is the right word, when they continue to put it out? What are we going to do? Now, we make policies, but if they just continue to take you to the street, and it's the waste that we're not going to pick up, I mean, of course, what do we do?
From codes.
Who's going to do that? That's my
Yeah,
question.
let me suggest that. First of all, we've authorized Public Works and Codes to issue citations. And what we do periodically when we do occupancy inspections, we get 20 people in the city in groups of 10, 2 people to a truck. And we go around the entire city and check and see who's in violation. And we make that list, and we notify those people, and if they don't do what they're supposed to be doing, then they get a citation to court. So my suggestion is when we start this July 1st, that periodically we go out in large groups, and it's going to take a little bit of effort, but it'll be worth it in the long run, to go over and just go through the entire city and get a process where, there's a $500 fine for littering, I believe. That's state law.
So that's the teeth, the $500. Oh, now you're talking. Okay, not the 50. Okay.
Not the 50.
Okay.
So, I mean, it'll take an effort, but we'll have to do it. And I think if people try it, I think they'll be broken to the habit very, very quickly. So, but we've got to do something. We can't leave the city in the condition that it's in every month. It's out of control.
Mr. Ellis.
It's going to be easy. It's going to be a lot of problems for this person. There's going to be a lot we have to pick up, I realize.
But it's an adjustment, just as when we went to the carts, pick up a long time ago, but it did work.
No. But keep putting it 500. We can't back up. We can't back up from the $500. That's a message.
That's state law. Are
Yeah,
there
that's
other
the
comments
message.
before we vote? Hearing none, let's call the roll.
Mason.
Aye.
Ellis.
No.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Snyder.
Aye.
Passed 6-1.
All right, now we move to 3.11, discuss and possibly take action on the purchase of a new police vehicle to replace one that was damaged in an accident this month. You had a memo on that. Is there a motion this be taken care of?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all right, in discussion. That comes out of the existing,
Police budget.
the existing police budget. Correct, Chief Johnson? Okay. Any comments? Let's call the roll.
Snyder.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Shoemaker. Shoemaker.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Ellis.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Passed 7-0.
Okay. All right, 3.12 is one of the items that was added to your agenda. That's to discuss and possibly take action on naming the tennis courts at Garner Street Park.
So moved.
Mr. Barry, okay, and do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Barry Sims, would you come and speak to this issue? I think you've got some people ready to act on it anyway, but just come on, tell us what we're doing.
Mayor Carnell and Board of Aldermen and Alderwoman, Mr. Nutting, it's just a pleasure, and I appreciate y'all letting us be on the agenda tonight. It's really thank you. Y'all have a lot of important business. Let me pass out. I do have some handouts, if you will. Have some signatures of support. I have those copies. These are, some of these are players, there's parents of players. Former players and community supporters, I guess. Again, it's a, it really is an honor for me to stand here and do this. I consider it a privilege. I'm excited about it. I'm really passionate about it. And there's actually hundreds of other probably people that would like to be here tonight. This came a little quicker than we really maybe intended to at first. The idea came up a few years ago. We finally got started about a little over a week ago. And we thought we'd bring it to the May meeting, and we finally figured out real quick that was going to be after graduation and after a lot of other activities. And so after talking to Mr. Nutting and the mayor, they felt like we could get on tonight. So I really appreciate that. But again, I am honored to be here. And the purpose of this is to name the tennis courts, the tennis facilities located at the Garner Street Park, the Curtis Holland Tennis Courts. And the reason behind that, and I don't know if it's, like I say, I could be here a while, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but, you know, a few words that describe Curtis Holland, and many of you know him, and I think already know this, but, you know, he's certainly an honest man. He's very personable. He's a friend. He's been in my house at the dinner table, and many other former players would say the same thing. He's a fun-loving person. He's a good sportsman. His players play good sportsmanship. They had matter of fact, the reason a lot of players are not here tonight, they're in a match at Clarksville. I think they're finished now, but they were still playing when this meeting started. He demands good sportsmanship. I know I have 3 sons that had the privilege, one still playing for him, and he beat me to the punch. A time or two, calling them down. You know, he'll tell them to be quiet and stop. I mean, you know, there's no need arguing about things and leave it on the court, you know, and compete. He's a true gentleman. He's competitive. You know, that shows from his record. I mean, just I might speak of that. He's over 26 years of coaching Springfield High School tennis. He's 20-6. That's a success. That's a bright spot in our community. He not only teaches these youth and these students how to play tennis, and I'll assure you, if you've ever watched, some of you that have watched the students play, there's some pretty funny looking, you know, watching the players first start, holding a racket and kind of awkward, but he demands that they hit the ball correctly. And you go around, he's very respected for that, for the other coaches around the other league, the other in the district and the region. He's also known that, and we put this out on an email just a few days ago. I'm getting calls. There's going to be some people upset that they couldn't get their names on here. As a matter of fact, there's a list in Chattanooga and there's a list in Clarksville tonight that just got out of place. We didn't catch it in time, but a lot of folks wanted to be here and would like to be here and would be if we were a little bit later. But back to the Coach Holland, you know, again, he likes to watch his students and his players compete and grow, and it's very, you know, again, I've been to matches and other coaches. I mean, I had a coach tell me one time. We're in a district tournament, and he said, you know, he was upset. He said, "Your coach is a stickler for rules." And I said, "Oh, he is?" And I said, "Well, isn't that a good thing?" So anyway, but he's well respected by other coaches and other communities. That calls from the Nashville area that would like to support in some way, and this is, you know, we're on the agenda. But with all that said, on behalf of these former players and all, I would hope that you would consider this positive move in naming the streets, the courts in Garner Street, the Curtis Holland tennis courts. I might say that both, talked about the record, the boys and girls both have a winning record this year. They've been to multiple district championships, regions, sub-states, and that sort of, and so on and so forth. I don't know, I'd be happy to entertain any questions that you might have, if that's in order. Otherwise, I hope you strongly consider this recommendation.
Thank you for bringing the matter before us. He is certainly a highly respected gentleman, and his record precedes him. I would say that. I don't know of a finer citizen and a better example for young people to follow than Curtis is. And I appreciate you bringing it before us. Are there any questions of anybody on the board?
Yes, sir. As his alderman, and almost his neighbor, and a person who's been following and admiring him for about 38 years. He's a fine fellow. And just one thing I would like to just say, Curtis Holland Tennis Complex, if that's okay. So tennis sounds fine to me.
All right.
Mr. Recreation Director, is that okay?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Second. You already got it?
Yes, we've already got a motion and a second.
We got all the legal stuff's out of the way. All we got to do is say yay.
Yes, sir.
Vote your preference when your name's called.
Head,
Yes.
Carneal,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Mason,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Ellis,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
pass 7-0.
Thank you, Barry.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
He doesn't know we're here tonight. It's a secret.
It's on you.
I don't know if we're gonna make it
Coach
a
Bill
secret.
gonna tell
He
you.
doesn't know we're here. His players, we'll see how far that goes, but, anyway, thank you.
Okay.
You're gonna be on TV tomorrow.
All right, 3.13 is discuss and possibly take action on authorizing an emergency repair for an exposed Carr Creek sewer interceptor and approving the change order to contract for such repair. Is there a motion?
Second.
All right. Is this the one that I had talked with you about earlier? Yeah. I think that's what I thought. I'd already had a complaint about that one. Okay. Pass that.
We're handing out copies. There are also some, behind Mr. Lemaster's memo, there are some color photographs. And you can see where the pipe is exposed for about 600 feet, right on the edge of the creek.
Okay. This is west of Highway 431. Isn't that correct? All right, any questions about this?
Need to be done.
Paul?
Jim, to be able to act on this on an emergency basis, if the board wants to authorize this, it has to be approved 7-0 as an emergency, right?
Okay. All right, is there any objection? Proceed. All right, if you would vote, if you're for this emergency repair order, please vote aye. If you oppose, vote no.
Ellis, Hubbard,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Carneal,
Aye.
Mason,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
pass 7-0.
All right, we move to the consent portion of the agenda. You have 2 items. What's your pleasure?
Motion to accept the whole consent.
Second?
Second.
All right. Call the roll, please.
Carneal,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Mason,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Ellis,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
pass 7-0.
All right. Is there anything further that needs to come before the group? We'll be meeting again on May the 15th for our regular May meeting. In the meantime, Mr. Nutting will be hard at work still on our budget, and he'll have our little budget package here in early May, all balanced and tied up in a ribbon and ready to go.
And ready for the fireworks.
Anything, Paul?
Mayor, I just want to tell everybody that I'll have your quarterly reports this week, and I apologize for my little spasm.
That's Tennessee allergies. Nothing further, we stand adjourned.
It's graduation time.
So, Paul,
You found it, sir.